Hi, everyone. Today I'll be sharing highlights from my final paper titled The Spiritual Connection of Subsistence Activities, which explores how traditional subsistence practices in Native Alaskan communities are far more than just a survival strategy. They are deeply spiritual, communal, and provide a cultural lifeline. For Native Alaskans, subsistence is an essential and deeply rooted practice. It is fundamentally connected to their way of life and survival, as well as their connection to the land, community, and culture. Subsistence is defined as the activities that revolve around harvesting, transforming, sharing, and consuming of renewable resources of land. Subsistence activities for Native Alaskan people vary and are often tied to the regions in which they live. Communities in coastal areas rely on marine resources, such as seal and herring, while groups living more interior rely on land-based hunting and fishing, including salmon and moose. Subsistence also includes activities such as gardening and foraging for berries. Singer and West discuss the common practice of sharing between coastal and interior villages to provide a variety of traditional food. Often referred to as traditional or country food, wild and locally sourced foods such as fish, moose, caribou, berries, and greens remain an essential part of nutrition, cultural identity, and social well-being among the Native Alaskan people. Subsistence is not only a way for Native Alaskans to provide healthy nutritional foods for their communities, but is also the foundation for cultural identity and spiritual renewal. Theorault et al. Describes subsistence as also being connected to the social, psychological, and religious life of Native Alaskans. In a video interview with Daisy Mae Barea, she talks of the importance of subsistence activities for survival, teaching, celebration, and for healing. She goes on to describe the environmental therapeutic aspects of subsistence and how it can bring a healthy mind, soul, and spirit. Langdon provides specific examples of spiritual connection to subsistence and a way of life for several Native Alaskan groups. For the Aleut people, they believed that hunting success was directly tied to a creator deity related to the sun. For the Aleutic or Pacific Eskimos, they viewed nature and the universe as a whole and connected unity, and that the universe was ordered and organized into 5 levels above the world and 5 levels below the world. This was directly tied to spiritual recycling and the boundaries that existed between the levels. Good and evil spirits were a part of this hierarchy, so it can be inferred that a rule system was put into place to ensure bountiful subsistence and existence. A universal cosmic presence can also be found in the belief system of the Yupik people. According to Langdon, like the Aleut, consisted of a hierarchy framework. Yupik also believed that all living beings had a spirit known as Yuna, Yua. I apologize for the pronunciation of all these words. I'm doing my best. So all living beings have a spirit called the Yua within and are deserving of respect. Finup Riordan explains that Yupik believed that animals give their life as a gift to the hunter. In turn, the hunter reciprocates that with respect. The authors go on to describe that this mutual respect as continuation of the relationship between the hunter and animal through time and space. In addition to the reciprocal relationship between humans and animals, The Yupik believe that every living being is included in an endless cycle of birth and rebirth, and this is directly impacted by the actions of others as well as self. The example given was that for the rules of hunting seals, that the possibility of receiving the same seal in the future was increased by respecting and giving the seal a gift. This reciprocity of gift giving was a way to be respectful, follow the rules, and continue the exchange between human and non-human beings. For the northern Eskimos, reincarnation of both human and animal and the recycling of spirit from one life to the next was significant. It was critical for animal souls to be released so that they could make themselves available for harvesting in the future. In addition, non-wasteful practices of using all or most of the animal were a part of the ritual for ensuring that the animal would make itself available to the hunter again. The interior Indians, the Athabascans, believed that both men and animals have spirit that have always communicated with each other. They also used mythical beings, such as the raven, to convey messages of right and wrong. Athabascans believe that humans must stay in good graces with the animal spirits. Especially important were the caribou, bear, and wolf. And by maintaining respect during these ritual practices, um, hunting and subsistence activities would be bountiful. The Tlingit and the Haida, like the Athabascans, believed in mythical characters. There was also the belief in purification and cleansing by submerging oneself into fresh water, to obtain your guardian spirits to guide and support you in everyday life. The concept of reincarnation was also a part of the spiritual belief of both groups. And they believed that babies were reincarnation of someone who had passed, especially if there was physical and behavior likeness. The practices and spiritual connection to land, animals, and each other continue to be the foundation of Native Alaskan culture and a way of life. The connection to one's community as it relates to subsistence activities is also of utmost importance. Fazino and Loring highlight how subsistence activities play in the maintenance of social and cultural well-being. It is customary to share the caught, hunted, or harvested traditional foods. Lee describes sharing as one of the most deeply held cultural values. Ransom discusses how the community works together to hunt and divide the animal. The animal was likely killed by a group of numerous men and not by one individual. This is described as communal ownership, as the animal is considered to belong to the community. Art Arkitsinger and West discuss the process of distribution once the resources have been harvested. Elders are customarily prioritized, then shared with immediate and extended family. A sense of community is also shown because subsistence harvests are also typically offered to those people who are unable to participate in subsistence activities for themselves. This type of distribution has sustained families in the past and continues to keep social relationships within Native Alaskan communities strong. Molly Lee provides a specific example of how subsistence is shared between rural and urban Native Alaskan women. She talks of her friend Flora, a Yupik woman who lives in an urban area but maintains her connection with her rural town through subsistence activities. Several times a year, Flora travels to rural areas near her home village to trade donuts for traditional Alaskan foods. She then brings back the traditional food to the urban area and shares it with her native friends, now living in the city. Lee describes this process as a way for urban women to connect to each other, to the rural villages where they were born. Lee goes on to describe how social connectedness between urban Native women not only includes the traditional Native foods, but also their ability to use their subsistence skills to gather cranberries, dig for clams, or fish close to urban areas in which they live. The sharing network of Native women in urban areas is a way to replicate village sociability and can help them adapt to urban life. Closely tied to sharing of subsistence includes the celebration of bountiful harvests and show respect and gratitude. These celebrations provide an opportunity for the entire community to come together as one. In the video interview with Daisy Mae Berea by Fazino in 2011, she discusses the subsistence activities that are different between boys and girls, but mentions that they are both celebrated when they experience their first successful hunt or harvest. She connected these celebrations as a way to give back to the Creator. An example of subsistence related ceremony was portrayed in the whale hunt film, where hunters work together to harvest and distribute the meat. Afterward, the entire community came together for a celebration. The celebration is hosted by the whaling captain and crew and can be traced back to ancient times. The theme of the festivities is renewal and continuation of life, and the purpose is to give thanks to both the whale for giving its life and the community who work together to hunt and distribute the bounty. Subsistence remains a vital and necessary element in Native Alaskan life. It is not only tied to survival, but also cultural identity, spiritual connectedness to the land, and a sense of community with others. As state and federal policies and regulations, rising cost of subsistence activities, and pressures to rely on westernized food, Native Alaskans are required to navigate Western rules imposed to maintain their traditional way of life. As stated by Lee, without access to subsistence resources on public lands, this would cause a profound loss economically, culturally, and spiritually. In conclusion, embedded in both traditional practice and spiritual connection to the land, subsistence continues to be a vital part of the Native Alaskan way of life. Access to subsistence activities goes far beyond providing nourishment. It helps one maintain cultural identity, builds relationships through acts of sharing and celebration, and reinforces the spiritual connection to the land and all that it provides. From the passing down of subsistence practices of gratitude to sharing and celebrating at the end of a hunting season, Native Alaskan people believe in reciprocity and respect for nature, animals, and other humans. Despite the challenges that come with bureaucracy, they continue to be resilient as they attempt to preserve traditional subsistence activities and their culture.